Palm Beach County, Florida. A quiet, sunlit town known for its beaches and luxury homes. Yet at the far edge of the town, where the asphalt turns into gravel and palm trees twist into black silhouettes at dusk, stood a place no one dared to visit after sunset: the Riddle House. It had once been grand, a two-story Victorian home built in the early 1900s by Carl Riddle, a respected city manager who was known for his wealth and eccentric personality. The house had served as his residence and office, and later, after Riddle's mysterious death, it became a funeral home. That's when the stories began. Whispers of strange noises, lights flickering, and shadowy figures moving behind the curtains. But the most terrifying story was that of Joseph, a young handyman who had worked for the Riddle family. Joseph had been loyal, hard-working, until one day he was found hanging from the rafters in the attic. They said he had taken his own life after being accused of theft. But the old-timers claimed it wasn't suicide. It was vengeance that drove him even after death. Over the years, many owners had tried to restore the Riddle House. None stayed long. Tools vanished, doors slammed, and workers claimed unseen hands pushed or scratched them. Eventually, the county sealed it off, declaring it unsafe. But that didn't stop the local thrill seekers. One humid October evening, 3 college students, Eli, Maya, and Connor, drove out to the edge of town. It was Halloween week, and they were filming a series of ghost hunting videos for their YouTube channel. The Riddle House was their biggest dare yet. "This is it," Maya whispered, as the car's headlights illuminated the peeling paint and broken shutters of the house. "The haunted Riddle House." Connor laughed nervously. "Looks like it's haunted by termites, not ghosts." Eli, the leader of the group, checked his camera. "Don't chicken out now. We'll just get some footage, maybe catch something weird, and get out before midnight. Easy." As they stepped through the rusted gate, the metal groaned like an ancient warning. The yard was overgrown, littered with broken gravestones from when the house had doubled as a funeral home. The front door creaked open before Eli even touched it. "Did you?" Maya began. Eli grinned. "Wind, that's all." But when they entered, the air changed, thick, cold, and heavy with something old. The scent of rot and dust hung in the air. The faint ticking of an unseen clock echoed through the rooms, even though every clock they found was broken. In the parlor, Connor set up the EMF reader, its lights flickering erratically. Maya began narrating into the camera. "Legend says the ghost of Joseph, the employee who took his own life, still haunts this house. Locals claim he hates men, especially those who enter the attic." Eli pointed to the narrow staircase at the end of the hall. "Guess where we're going next?" Connor's face paled. "You're kidding, right? The attic?" But Eli was already climbing. The wooden steps moaned beneath his weight. Maya followed, filming every second, her flashlight cutting through the dark. The attic door loomed at the top, locked with a rusted latch. Eli tugged. It didn't budge. Then A single, heavy knock came from the other side. Maya screamed. Connor dropped his camera. Eli froze. "Hello?" he called out. No answer, just silence, and then a faint whisper. A whisper that seemed to curl around them like smoke. "Leave before he hangs again."
The whisper seemed to echo inside their skulls, not through the air. Maya's breath hitched as she clutched Eli's arm. Connor, trembling, aimed his flashlight toward the attic door. His hand shaking so badly the beam wavered like a heartbeat. "Eli," Maya hissed, "let's go. I'm serious. This isn't funny anymore." Eli's pulse thundered in his ears. He wanted to believe it was just old wood shifting, maybe wind trapped inside the walls. But something about that voice had felt too close, too deliberate. It's probably just bang! The attic door slammed from the other side, rattling the hinges. Dust fell like ash from the ceiling. Connor stumbled backward, tripping over a loose board. "Okay, screw this. We got enough footage. I'm done." But Eli wasn't ready to leave. He felt drawn, a magnetic pull toward that door. His fingers brushed the old latch, as cold as ice despite the Florida humidity. And just like that, it snapped open with a sound like bones cracking. The door creaked inward, revealing a staircase swallowed by darkness. "Eli, no!" Maya whispered, her voice breaking. He turned back, forcing a grin that looked more like fear. "It's fine, just 1 minute. We get a shot of the attic, then we go. Promise." Connor groaned. "You're going to get us killed." They climbed one by one. The air grew colder with every step. The smell changed too, from dust to something bitter and metallic like dried blood. The flashlight beam caught glimpses of cobwebs, old furniture, and something hanging from a wooden beam. When Eli raised the light higher, his breath froze. It was a rope, frayed, yellowed, tied into a noose. The beam swung again, landing on a toppled chair beneath it. "Holy," Connor muttered, backing away. "That's where he did it. That's where Joseph hanged himself." Maya's eyes welled up. "This is too real. Let's leave, Eli." But Eli was transfixed. He lifted the camera, zooming in on the noose. The lens flickered as though struggling to focus. Static filled the mic. Then, through the static, came a sound, faint at first, like wind whistling through cracks, but it grew louder, sharper, human. "Why did you take my life?" The voice was low, distorted, vibrating through the floorboards. Connor dropped his flashlight. It rolled across the floor and stopped at the foot of an old trunk. Eli swallowed hard. "Who's there?" No answer, only the soft creak of the rope swaying by itself. Then the trunk's lid began to rise, slowly, creaking open. Inside were old workers' clothes, a torn uniform shirt with the name Joseph embroidered in faded thread, and beside it, a cracked photograph of a man smiling with 2 other workers in front of the Riddle House. The man in the middle, Joseph, had his face violently scratched out. Suddenly, a violent gust of wind slammed the attic door shut behind them. The temperature plunged. Frost began to bloom on the window pane. Maya screamed as her breath turned white in the air. "Open it! Open the door!" Eli rushed to the handle. It wouldn't move. Connor threw his shoulder against it, but it wouldn't budge. Then came the sound of footsteps overhead. Impossible footsteps, because the attic was the topmost floor. Thud, thud, thud. Connor's flashlight flickered. In its brief flashes, they saw movement, a dark outline hanging in the corner, dangling just above the floor. Maya gasped, "Eli, look!" He turned the camera. The figure twisted slowly, head lolling to one side. It was Joseph, eyes bulging, rope cutting deep into his neck, skin pale and stretched. His body swayed, then jerked violently. The sound of the rope tightening filled the room. Then his eyes snapped open, staring straight at them. The attic lights exploded in a shower of sparks. The screen went black. When the light returned, they were gone. Only the camera lay on the attic floor, still recording, and somewhere in the static came a faint whisper again, cold, cruel, and endless. "Leave before he hangs again."
When Maya and Connor woke up, it was morning. They were lying on the floor of the Riddle House parlor, sunlight streaming through the cracked windows. The attic felt like a nightmare now, except for the fact that Eli was missing. "Eli?" Maya's voice trembled as she sat up, her head throbbing. "Eli, where are you?" Connor groaned, rubbing his temple. "What the hell happened last night? I remember the lights glowing up and—" He froze. "And Joseph!" They both turned toward the staircase. The attic door stood open, hanging crookedly on its hinges. The noose was gone. "Connor," Maya whispered, "he's still up there." Against every instinct screaming at them to run, they climbed the stairs once more. The air was oddly warm this time. No frost, no whisper, just silence. When they reached the attic, it was empty. The rope was missing, the trunk was overturned, and Eli's camera was gone. "Maybe he went outside," Connor said, though his tone betrayed uncertainty. But then they noticed the wall. Words had been scratched into the wood, fresh and jagged. "He is mine." They bolted out of the house, hearts hammering, and ran to their car parked at the edge of the property. But Eli wasn't there either. The trunk was open, gears scattered. His phone lay on the seat, screen cracked, the camera still recording. Maya picked it up. The last video file was labeled attic_final.mov. She pressed play. The footage was shaky, the sound warped with heavy static. The lens caught a brief flash of the attic, the rope swinging, and then Eli's face came into view. His eyes looked wrong. They were glazed over, as if someone else were staring through them. Joseph didn't kill himself. He was murdered. He told me. He's still here, and now he wants me to finish what he started.
Then the camera fell sideways. The last frame showed Eli walking toward the beam where the rope had been. The video ended in silence. Maya's hand shook. "Connor, we have to call someone." "Who? The cops? They'll laugh at us." "Then we go back in and find him," she snapped, tears in her eyes. "We can't leave him here." Against their better judgment, they re-entered the Riddle House. The front door had somehow closed again, and when Connor tried to push it open, it wouldn't budge. It was like the house itself had sealed them inside. The hallway seemed longer now, stretching into shadows that weren't there before. The wallpaper rippled as though something alive pulsed beneath it. From upstairs came a faint sound, the creaking of a rope. Maya whispered, "No, no, please no." They ran to the staircase, flashlights trembling. The attic door was swaying back and forth as if pushed by invisible hands. Connor reached the top first and froze. Eli stood beneath the beam. The noose was back, hanging loosely around his neck. His eyes were blank, pupils dilated, and his lips moved in silent rhythm. "Eli," Maya cried, "take it off! What are you doing?" He didn't answer. He tilted his head slightly, as if listening to someone else in the room. Then, in a voice that wasn't entirely his own, deeper, hollow, and soaked in hatred, he whispered, "He made me do it." Connor lunged forward, grabbing the rope, yanking it away. "Wake up, man! This isn't you!" Eli's expression flickered, pain, confusion, then rage. His hands shot out, gripping Connor's throat with unnatural strength. His fingers dug in deep, and his voice trembled with Joseph's. "You don't belong here. None of you do." Maya screamed, slamming the flashlight against Eli's arm. He let go, stumbling backward. For a split second, Eli's own voice broke through. "Maya, help me. He's inside me. Please." Then the attic light flickered once, twice, and went out. When it came back on, Eli was gone. The rope swung empty above them. Connor turned slowly toward Maya. His voice was barely a whisper. "He's still here, Maya. Not Joseph. Eli." And from somewhere deep inside the walls came a faint sound of laughter. Eli's laughter, mixed with something else. Something old. Something that didn't belong to the living.
By nightfall, the storm rolled in. Thunder cracked above the riddled house, lightning flashing through the shattered windows like camera flashes from hell. The old building moaned under the wind, its boards creaking as if the house itself was breathing. Maya and Connor had barricaded themselves inside the parlor. They couldn't get the front door open. Every window they tried to smash had repaired itself in seconds, the wood knitting back together before their eyes. It was as though the house was alive, and it wanted them to stay. Maya sat trembling near the fireplace, clutching the camera she'd found on the attic floor. He's gone. Eli's gone, and if we stay here, we'll be next. Connor was pacing, his nerves shot. You saw what he did. He wasn't human anymore. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the parlor walls, and for a brief second, Maya saw them, silhouettes of people hanging from invisible ropes, swaying silently across the room. When the light faded, they were gone. Her breath caught. "Connor, did you see that?" He didn't answer. He was staring at the wall above the mantel, where a portrait of Carl Riddle hung. The eyes in the painting were bleeding. Thick, dark streaks ran down the frame. Connor stepped closer, his voice hollow. "I think he's part of it." "What do you mean?" Connor's hand trembled as he touched the frame. Carl Riddle, the owner. The rumors said Joseph was accused of stealing from him, right? What if Carl was the real thief? What if he... The portrait fell from the wall before he could finish, shattering the glass. Behind it, etched into the plaster, were more words, faded, carved deep with desperation. "He made me hang. Make him pay." Maya's heart dropped. Carl forced Joseph to kill himself? Connor nodded slowly. And now Joseph's spirit. It's trapped here. Anyone who steps inside, he tries to... Before he could finish, the lights flickered again. The air grew thick, suffocating. The floorboards beneath them began to thrum, almost like a heartbeat. And then Eli's voice came from the hallway. Low, calm, wrong. "You shouldn't have come back." Maya turned, flashlight trembling in her hand. Eli stood in the doorway, drenched in rain, eyes black as coal. The skin around his neck was bruised, marked by a faint outline of rope. Connor stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Eli, listen, we can help you, man. Whatever this is, whatever's got you, we can..." Eli smiled. It wasn't his smile. "You can't help the dead, Connor." Then he lifted his hand, and the fireplace roared to life again, flames shooting up the chimney, turning from orange to sickly green. Maya screamed as the portraits around them burst into flame one by one, each face melting into black ash. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. Connor tried to pull her toward the back door, but the doorknob was red hot, blistering his palm. The walls groaned, expanding, warping. The wallpaper bubbled as if veins pulsed underneath. Eli stepped closer, the air around him freezing cold. "He showed me what happened, what Carl did. Joseph was innocent. They murdered him and buried him under this house." "Eli, you're not making sense," Maya cried. "Oh, I see clearly now." His head tilted, voice deepening into something inhuman. "He wants justice. He wants me to finish it." Connor lunged, tackling Eli to the floor. "You're not Joseph. Fight it, Eli." The struggle was brief. Eli's body moved like it wasn't bound by bones anymore. He threw Connor across the room with one motion.
Connor hit the wall with a sickening crack and slumped to the floor, unmoving. Maya screamed, "Stop, please!" Eli turned to her, eyes wet with tears, but the smile on his face wasn't his. "It's not me anymore, Maya. It's us." He began to chant in a guttural whisper, words older than English, the walls trembling in rhythm. The house shuddered, pictures fell, and a massive crack split the floorboards open. From beneath came the smell of rot and decay and something else. Bones, dozens of them, half buried in the dirt. Maya's knees buckled. "Dear God, they killed them all!" Eli reached out his hand. He wants to rise again, to make them all pay. She backed away, whispering through tears, "You're not Eli anymore. You're gone." He smiled one last time. "Not gone, eternal." And with that, the floor gave way beneath him, dragging Eli down into the pit of bones as the house roared like a living beast. Maya screamed his name, reaching out, but the darkness swallowed him whole. Then the lights died, and the Riddle House fell silent again. The rain had stopped. But inside the Riddle House, the storm was far from over. Maya sat motionless on the cold floor, her body trembling in the silence that followed Eli's fall. The air was thick with the stench of wet earth and decay. She could still hear the echo of his last words, "Not gone, eternal." Connor lay beside the wall, unconscious but still breathing. A dark bruise spread along his temple where he'd hit the plaster. She crawled to him, shaking his shoulder. "Connor, please wake up. We have to get out of here." His eyes fluttered open. He coughed, wincing. "Maya? What happened?" She swallowed hard. "He's gone. Eli's gone. The floor, it opened up. He fell." Connor's face went pale. "Then we leave, now." They staggered toward the foyer, the flashlight's weak beam cutting through the shadows. But as they reached the staircase, something was wrong. The house had changed. The walls seemed closer, warped. The stairs now spiraled upward into darkness instead of leading to the front door. Windows that once looked outside now reflected only more rooms. Every hallway twisted into another. Every door led back into the same parlor. "We're trapped," Maya whispered. Connor gritted his teeth. "No, there has to be a way." But the house wasn't just trapping them anymore. It was watching. The creak of the boards followed their steps. The faint sound of breathing echoed from behind the wallpaper. The chandelier above them swayed, though there was no wind. Then the voice came again, low, deep, familiar. "Why did you take my life?" It came from everywhere. Maya gripped Connor's hand. "Joseph." The shadows on the walls began to move. A dark figure formed at the top of the stairs, tall, thin, his neck bent at an unnatural angle. His face was pale and stretched, eyes dark hollows that seemed to drink in the light. The noose still hung around his neck, frayed and dripping as though freshly soaked in rain. Joseph. Connor stumbled back. "Stay away from us!" But Joseph didn't move toward them. Instead, he raised a hand, pointing toward the floor, the place where Eli had vanished. The boards began to crack again, opening into that same pit of bones. And from it came Eli's voice. Maya. Her heart stopped. Eli's hand appeared first, clutching the edge of the hole. Then his head rose into view, eyes lifeless, skin ashen, and a faint rope mark circling his throat. He climbed out slowly, dragging himself to his feet. Maya cried, "Eli, it's me! Please fight him!" He smiled weakly. "He's part of me now. The house, it doesn't let go." Connor stepped forward, shaking. "We can end this. Joseph's grave, it's under here, right? If we burn the bones..." Before he could finish, Joseph turned his hollow eyes on him. The floorboards beneath Connor erupted. A rope shot upward like a serpent, coiling around his neck. He screamed as it lifted him off his feet. His legs kicked violently, his fingers clawing at the tightening rope. Maya lunged forward. "Connor!" But it was too late. The rope snapped tight with a crack, and Connor's body fell limp. Maya fell to her knees, sobbing, "Please stop this." Eli approached her, tears mixed with blood on his face. "You have to leave. The house won't stop until it has all of us." "How?" she pleaded. "The doors won't open." He looked around, dazed, as if hearing someone else whispering inside his skull. Then he took her hand and pressed something cold into her palm. It was a key, old, rusted, with the initials KR carved into it. "The owner's key," he said weakly. "Carl Riddle locked him in. This opens the basement. That's where Joseph was buried alive. You end it. You end him." Maya stared at the key, then back to Eli. "Come with me." He shook his head slowly. "I can't. He's still here." Lightning struck outside, shattering one of the upper windows. The blast of light illuminated Eli's face, and for a brief, terrible moment, Joseph's shadow overlapped his perfectly. Two souls bound together. Maya ran. She followed the keys pulled down to the basement door, hidden behind a warped bookshelf. It clicked open. The smell of damp earth and rot flooded out. She descended the steps, flashlight trembling in her hand. The basement was full of coffins, some open, some nailed shut. In the corner, a mound of dirt rose like a small grave. Sticking out from it was a skull, the rope still tight around its neck. "Joseph," she whispered. She doused the skull and rope in the lantern oil she found nearby, her hands shaking. "You've suffered enough. Rest." As she struck the match, the whisper came again, closer than ever. "Thank you." The flame caught instantly, racing across the floor. The fire roared to life, orange and white, consuming everything. Maya ran for the stairs, coughing through the smoke. At the top, she looked back, and for a brief, terrible moment, saw Joseph's ghost standing over his bones, smiling peacefully before fading into the fire. The house screamed, an unholy sound that seemed to tear through the night. Walls split, windows shattered, and the Riddle House began to collapse in on itself with one final echoing creak. Then came silence. Days later, the Palm Beach police found Maya wandering the road barefoot, covered in ash. When they asked what happened, she only said one thing. The house kept its riddles. I just freed one. The ruins of the Riddle House were cleared a week later, but locals say when the wind passes through the palms at night, you can still hear a rope creak and a whisper beneath